Hello and welcome to the Grove. My name is Samarev and I'm developing my own fictional language called Railikiv. Last time on the channel, I translated a few phrases from my friends, but I realized halfway through recording that I hadn't properly introduced the language to my channel. So here are a few basics of my constructed language. First, letter sounds. Every language is built on sounds, and so paying attention to what sounds I used were very important because I also wanted to make sure that I could pronounce it. I also decided to have a 1-to-1 letter to sound ratio. Therefore, if you see a letter, you know that it's going to be pronounced and that it's going to be pronounced with a specific sound. So currently, I'm using the Latin alphabet because I don't have an actual script for it, and it's a lot easier for me to write when I'm working on the language. So eventually it will have a full script that it can be used, but at least for right now and when typing on the computer, I'm using the Latin alphabet. It's also rearranged for my specific language because I wanted things to be grouped by a specific sound. So similar sounds will be grouped together in the alphabet. And so, yeah. So I also have that there are some common consonants and vowels, and then there are some specialized uh, consonants. So those are the two groups, and I'll be starting with explaining about the common letter sounds. So the consonants for the common letter sounds are m, v, p, t, d, n, sh, ch, th, l, k, g, p, v, z, s, and those sounds are also with what Latin alphabet, so the Roman English alphabet, that's the sound that corresponds to it. And then for the vowels, you have a, which is represented by the letter A, e, which is represented by the letter E, which is represented by the letter I, and then O, representing by O, and U, which is representing by the letter W. I mean, by the letter U. Then for the specialized sounds, so these sounds are only for specific contexts. So you have the name consonants. So these are consonants that do exist within the language. However, they're reserved for signifying that, hey, this is a name, this is a proper noun, versus a different kind of noun. So these are only in names. So say place names or people's names or names of organizations, probably. So anything that's dealing with the name of something, that's what it would be from. So you have W, W, R, R, Y, Y, and H, H's. And those four consonants, I can go, they also each have their own specific rules that they have to follow. And I'll explain those when I get to, or if I get to an episode specifically about names, because it's interesting how those function as well. And then diphthongs. So the two diphthongs I have are A and I. So diphthongs are like two sounds that are sort of smushed together to create one word, one sound. And so is used for a singular, like living being. So they're used for entities such as people, animals, and they're also used for pronouns. And A is used for the singular version, and then I is used for the plural version. So my language is also a block language, which means that you have roots that are then used as building blocks, and these roots can also work as standalone words. So, for example, stand and alone. Those are two words that can be used alone, but they can also be combined. So it's sort of like roots are the beginning words, and then you have compound words using different roots. And there are two different kinds of roots. There are true roots, such as ba, and packaged roots such as bop. Ba is a true root because there are only two different sounds. There's b and there's ah. So you have combined them to make one true word in that true root, and that has one meaning. And then packaged roots like bop, it has a consonant at the beginning and a consonant at the end with a vowel in the middle. And that's why it's called packaged, because the vowel is sort of packaged between two consonants. And these are the only two roots that can happen. You can have roots that or like letter pairings that can seem like roots when it comes to names, but for making words in day-to-day language, such as the word for lunchbox or notebook or milk, you only have roots that start with a consonant and have a vowel right after that consonant, and then sometimes a consonant at the end for that. So when you're deriving the meanings of words, you have to pay attention to, it's like, okay, can this like couple of letters be alone? If no, then you might need to add a letter. So, and I can go into that more in a later episode, but one is two roots, one true, or it's packaged, and it follows specific guidelines, and building blocks create different words. The next is the basic grammar. So my language is going off of verb, subject, verb, object, which is like English because that's my native language. So I thought it would be easier to work with something that was familiar, and it makes sense to have like a specific word order so that the meaning within the language isn't lost. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a split off dialect used a different word order, but it would definitely be different for what it would mean. So people would have to train themselves. It's like, oh, we're using a different dialect, so we have to use a different grammar structure. So it just simplifies the process to go with my native language. And that's where I'm going to leave off with this video, because if I delves into anything more specific, it was just going to be too long of a video for this week. So this is where I'm going to leave it off for this week. Before my next translations video, I will also do a video on how pronouns work and go a little more in depth on how words are created, but and how they're like translated. But for right now, I hope to see you next time. So goodbye.